If you look at the story of God's people through Holy Scripture, they were always in crisis. It wouldn't be the story of God's people that we're still reading today if there wasn't a lesson for us and a word to us about how we can endure and how we can overcome and how we can remain faithful even in the hardest times. So when I thought about that, I decided to call some of the clergy and other faith groups in the area to see if they would be willing and interested in coming together to talk about the oil spill from a faith-based perspective. Holy and merciful God, a bit of silence is a precious thing. Tell me, what are you seeing in your parishes in terms of impact on your people?
The primary impact in this congregation is the emotional distress of the situation that they can't do anything about.
Life has changed here, and we can't begin to imagine what it's going to look like. And I think there are a lot of people who are sitting right there, and it's one of the places where the faith communities, I think, have been weak in trying to affirm the gospel for us, that there is hope. But it's because it's hard to articulate what the nature of hope might look and feel like.
Harold, I think you hit the nail on the head, is the idea of hope. How do you communicate hope? See, after the storm, we could communicate hope by saying what was damaged was basically buildings and man-made things and so forth, and we could rebuild that, and we're going to come back bigger and stronger and have a better economy and blah blah blah. And that was the word of hope. That was, that was there. But with the oil spill, this isn't something we can't just clean up and it goes away. The hope has got to be a new reality. What's happened in the Gulf is just a natural. When you have 3,500 oil rigs out there, you're going to have a problem at some point. So this is we've got to change at the very core of who we are, our identity, and that's hard to do. As a matter of fact, we can't do it. The only one who can do it is God at work in us, and opening ourselves up for that in the faith-based community in order so that it can take root in the larger community. Now, how do you do that?
One of the things that people said after Katrina was, I learned that I could live without, and they filled in the blank. I learned that this wasn't as important as I thought it was. And I think that's another lesson that we're beginning again, is what are we going to live without? What piece of our identity, what piece of our given along the coast are we going to be living without? Katrina took many things. This may be an opportunity not for something to be taken, but for us to be proactive in giving something up.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering, as clergy, there's the pastoral task, right, in the midst of a crisis, but isn't there a prophetic piece here too?
Yeah.
What is that role for us? What's the prophetic role in this?
See, that, it's kind of hard to be a prophetic voice if you're complicit in it. When I look at my own lifestyle and I think, ooh, gosh, am I really willing to give up to live that simpler lifestyle? Am I willing to take the pay cut, so to speak? Am I willing to do those things? And unless you're willing to do that, you cannot be that prophetic voice. And I think because the faith community, we are locked in, we are intricately tied with American consumerism and materialism. Look at our churches, look at the way we conduct ourselves, especially in the Protestant world. We're riding this wave of American materialism, and until we can separate ourselves in some way from that, we cannot be a prophetic voice, because we're kind of preaching to ourselves. We've got to be able to step up to the plate, and then we've got to know that, okay, we're going down. This is going down the tubes real fast. We need to make a change, and it's not just a change on the service that I'm going to live in a smaller house now that Katrina passed. I'm not going to have as many, cars, or as many this or as many that. Not those type of changes, but deep systemic changes in how we look at life in general. And I think we're afraid to do it. So it's kind of hard to stand up, be the prophetic voice, to call everybody else afraid to do it. And I know that this is just the beginning, that it's probably going to get a whole lot worse before it gets better as far as the need down here.
I think it's extremely important that in the midst of a crisis like this, especially in the midst of a crisis like this, faith leaders lift a word up, even if we don't agree on everything, even if we don't have the same perspective exactly or the same theologies, but that we have a safe place to be heard and to talk about it from a faith perspective. That's not exactly the approach you see in the media, right? But it has to be our approach because that's who we are and what we do.